YerAnd is sad but ready. Well, game 2 allows a chance to not be sad, YerAnd.
It's true. There is the opportunity to be less sad now. Let's see if he takes it as we move into game number 2 in our best of 3 series between PBHead and YerAnd. Nice. Well, not very nice. Kind of actually pretty rude win from PB there. Power Surge, HQ2, never going to be a pleasant thing to get hit by, as YerAnd noticed. I'm really, look, Philothenix here with us today. I'm just kind of stunned by all the green on the left side of my screen right now. There's an awful lot of it.
There's an awful lot of green and a very little amount of water on this map. It's all spread out. There's nothing here that's screaming to me that says a must-found location.
I'm seeing the southeast and thinking, I really want to get some of that, you know? There's just because it's not like it's super amazing, but there is water, there is silicon, there is iron, and there is aluminum. And I tell you, that's not a super common thing on this map.
No, so something down here in the southeast, maybe. There really isn't a good spot to found over here with all these mountains, though. Some sort of robot, perhaps. PB is going to go for the scavenger up in the northwest.
This is what I would have done, although I would have done it a little differently than this, but that's okay. We'll see what happens.
Yes, YerAnd going for the other spot. Now, the only thing about PBHead's found is his water is extremely awkward to get. He has this single high... There are core samples, okay.
I think that's why he's going to be okay. I hope that was a factor in his decision. There are lake beds.
To the south, it is a lake bed. So yeah, he should be fine if he just notices the core sample. It's pretty easy to not notice it, as illustrated by me not noticing it till you pointed it out.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to watch out for sometimes, but that black market can make all the difference in the world on these difficult maps. And for some reason, I would know to watch out for core samples in founding more than most people. I don't know. There's seems to be this whole map generation theory with me that goes on through the community. Oh boy. I do want to point out, by the way, as well, that there is some sand just to the southwest of PB's base for silicon as well with the core samples if he needs it, but this is why I wouldn't have gone scavenger.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt. Now the good thing is
there are core samples.
There are core samples. There is this crater with low carbon, so he should be able to pick up some more carbon, and his current carbon's on a cliff, so he can turn it into wind turbines.
That's exactly what I was thinking, is he can actually transition this carbon, not just acceptably, but pretty well this game, after the initial carbon gets nuked out, if he needs to. Very easily, like you were saying, core sample in the crater near the lows, if he wants to. He could even try core sampling near his current carbon, although I think I'd rather do it in the crater personally, and then make that transition. That should be just fine for him. Power Surge, once again, lands onto YerAnd. And see, this is the difficulty of exactly where YerAnd put his HQ.
Yes.
You can see he's had to separate his steel still, and he did that, but very strange steel separation this game.
Not very many options when you pick that as your founding location. However, the water is being nuked by YerAnd.
Yep,
the rain of nukes is going to fall from YerAnd onto PB's head. Maybe we should sing about that to the tune of the Rain of Castamere, if we wouldn't violate any copyright. So we won't do that.
Oh boy, and if I could sing, you know, there is that difficulty as well. I do love this hit, though, from YerAnd, because in particular, PB had already moved into these electrolysis reactors, so you've made carbon kind of difficult. PB's not going to want to scrap those. He spent a lot to get them up anyway. Now you make water difficult, and YerAnd's effectively just disabled these buildings with this nuke combined with the water purchase. I really, really love a play like that.
Right. PBHead needs an additional 6k to upgrade. Well, now he sold out. Now it's saying 12k. I'm not sure where that money went. Into water.
Yeah, into water. That's what he's sitting. I don't know why he's sitting on a huge amount of water right now. He may not have identified that YerAnd was sitting on a very large stockpile, but he just put a whole lot of money in YerAnd's pocket if YerAnd would like to take it. And that's usually not something you really want to do with the game. Extra claim is a little difficult to evaluate, but I do want to point out that power's already up at $208 right now. Whole bunch of offices at the colony. We've added 3 since the start of the game. And this is a little risky for PB, to my mind. He may really want to be staring down wind turbines at HQ3 before long.
Yeah, YerAnd's in a much better, with that auction, a much better power debt situation. 54k for PBHead, 19k for YerAnd. Power is going to keep on climbing for both players quite rapidly.
There's a water shortage. Why?
Why not?
Oh boy. So YerAnd has sold out of water, but amusingly enough, with that water shortage having come in, it still worked out okay for PB. He maybe gave YerAnd a little extra money, but is also going to benefit hugely from this shortage. And he could really sell out of that at any moment and go ahead and take his upgrade. I'd really consider doing that if I were him.
Especially since YerAnd's going to take his upgrade and move immediately into 2 windmills. I'm assuming that's what these are going to be on the
Wind
cliffs.
turbines. Exactly what we're seeing out of YerAnd right now.
With power at 307 and climbing makes a lot of sense. PBHead needs to sell down that water and upgrade also.
Yeah, he just keeps sitting on it for the time being, and I'm not honestly very sure why he's still doing that. There we go. We're going to see the sell into the upgrade, and what's PB going to do with that? The problem is PB's going to have a lot of trouble. Okay, he does start getting wind turbines online, but he's having a lot of trouble with carbon right now. He never made a purchase into a core sample. He has not bought any other black market. Meanwhile, YerAnd is sitting on a mutiny. This could turn out very badly for PB, already in $85,000 of debt. Now not climbing anymore with this with the wind turbines online, but still quite vulnerable to a mutiny from YerAnd.
YerAnd using his large stockpiles of, or production of steel to move into a geotherm. So it'll be 1 geotherm, 2 wind turbines for YerAnd against 2 wind turbines for PBHead. Difference here, PBHead's power is defended with a goon squad, YerAnd's power is not.
Yeah, I do wonder. YerAnd, interestingly enough, just bought a power surge. He also placed a spy onto PB. He hasn't gotten aggressive against these turbines yet, though. There are additional turbines, it looks like, trying to come online for PB. Everybody really fighting over this power right now. Have to see what YerAnd decides to do with his black market that he's loaded up. Hasn't actually... Oh, there we go. As soon as the turbine comes down, hits with the power surge. I actually don't know how I feel about the timing of that, because now PB just immediately canceled. Immediately canceled. Was able to get that carbon back and commit it to the solar panel.
The ideal way to use the power, because it allows him to transition, but it does keep that one tile from becoming power.
Yes. It does still disable the tile, certainly, but PB was able to get the resources back at least. This is a very strange game.
YerAnd is at 6k, 5k, decreasing rapidly. Will start making power money in a few seconds. Right now, pulling in just under $700 a second on power, freezing out PBHead's other wind turbines after taking care of the Goon Squad with the network virus. Just wants to keep all that power money to himself.
Yep, and he's doing a very good job of that. PB is currently making, well, no power whatsoever. Not consuming too much either, but YerAnd's going to be just fine with that as the price is already plenty high, and this power money should let YerAnd really sail ahead this game. Just pulling in so much cash while his opponent's just kind of stuck in the mud at the moment.
Given the random high prices at the start of the map, the life support costs have climbed higher and higher, with all life support in triple digits. YerAnd, as a robot, doesn't consume any of them.
There's the hit I like to see. PB gets the Mutiny Goon Squad combination. YerAnd walks right on into it. Did not spot what was going on. That's going to give PB some good control of that geotherm, slow down YerAnd's cash from this power, and actually he is currently leaking power once again, so that power money gets cut off pretty successfully by this mutiny, but PB still needs a lot of cash to upgrade carbon. Very, very difficult for him. Has not been using the core samples to their, well, at all this game. Hasn't been using them this game. It's a problem.
Instead, he's going to move into a HQ3 patent lab.
He needs teleportation desperately, and he knows it.
The only thing is teleportation.
That was his own fault.
10k.
Very, very expensive. Yes, I really think core samples were the appropriate tool to deal with this silicon situation this game. Not going to be what we see today, though. Nice little mutiny. from YerAnd onto PB. Gets that wind turbine taken away. PB can't respond to it for the time being, as he did choose to take away YerAnd's water with his own mutiny a little earlier. YerAnd back to making that power money with this dust storm active, but power going to be dropping quite rapidly.
I guess the calculus with this mutiny is YerAnd takes away PBHead's adjacency. So he's actually getting less power than mutinying back his own geotherm, 1.6 per second instead of 2 off of the geotherm.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting trade-off that YerAnd decided to make with that mutiny placement.
It is interesting. There is also the idea that the mutiny is going to last longer, and of course there is the fact that by taking away the adjacency, you actually have less power hitting the market total, because the adjacency bonus isn't there anymore, so maybe the price sustains itself a little longer with that play. However, there was the option of just taking away the very strong tile instead of the moderate tile there, so that might have been the correct decision overall.
YerAnd upgrading to HQ5, now 2 headquarters ahead of PBHead. That is never something you want to see.
No,
well,
especially not
ever.
as a scavenger. You can be a little behind a robot occasionally as a scavenger and maybe be okay if the black market is strong, if you're going to be able to use it effectively, but frankly, things are not looking good for PB. 100,000 debt, C bond rating, interest tick is on the way,
More
gaining
nukes.
a huge amount per second, and nukes continue to rain. Oh boy.
PBHead needs 25k to upgrade, and given his current placement of buildings, I don't know where he's going to get it.
No, things looking very difficult for him right now. He does have quite a bit of cash stored up in this teleportation, but there's no way he's going to be canceling out of that. Could look at moving into some farms instead of these wind turbines. He has 1 chemical refinery available with carbon scrubbing. Pulling in some money, but of course with fuel this expensive, it's not working out too well for him. And there, teleportation is active, but already $153,000 of debt.
I miss this high silicon claim that PB did all the way to the other side of the map.
Oh yeah, well, and that's understandable, right? Because why on earth would you ever do that to yourself? And that's probably where most of PB's debt has come from. Just that one tile.
Go check the fuel purchase for PBHead really quick. 73k worth of fuel purchased, 68 of that auto purchased.
Yep, that sounds about right. PBHead trying to take away some of the water from YerAnd, not going to work out. He does push to HQ4, but still $172,000 of debt. That just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Still an HQ behind. YerAnd has made the move into the hacker array. Is going to be trying to work on his iron, get that price a little bit higher in order to potentially close out this game. That is definitely what YerAnd's going to be looking at, as PB's price is down to 13.5.
Ductor is a very odd patent for the game to auction with power at 33.
Yeah, YerAnd goes ahead and grabs it, but realistically, it shouldn't have had much of an impact on the game, regardless from this point. Man, that is a lot of food that YerAnd has stored up. 120. He just got a food shipment pretty recently, it looks like.
Your opponent's not in food. They're consuming $300 worth of food a second on life support costs. Why sell it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. No reason to sell that just yet. YerAnd actually sitting on enough cash to look at finishing this game. 95% of what he needs to finish out PB. PB doesn't quite have enough to defend himself, but should actually by the time YerAnd looks at the buy, but still, you can make that threat. There it is. YerAnd going to begin now. He already has the money he needs. He just needs to make the purchase happen quickly. And let's see if PB can scrounge that cash together. He needs another 2,000.
He has it. Defends himself. The game will go a little bit longer, but
not much. YerAnd is just making so much money.
Yeah, this energy shortage with the superconductor will pull in some nice cash once it pays off the little bit of debt that YerAnd has. PBHead isn't in any powers. He still isn't in any food. $279,000 in debt after that 62k debt tick. 63k if you round up.
Yeah. not what you're looking at. Meanwhile, YerAnd had a $361 interest tick, so that's just kind of the state of the game that we're in right now. YerAnd needs about 2,000 more. Okay, he's got it if he chooses to take it. PB says GG. He might concede. He might wait for YerAnd to make a purchase. Either way, we are going to be done in mere moments.
YerAnd makes the purchase. Ties up the series. YerAnd shouldn't be sad anymore.
No, shouldn't be sad anymore with that game. That went very, very well for him. Strong use of the underground nukes. PB not making the counterplays with the core samples. Still sitting there at a very, very sad $3,000 saying, hey, buy me. I can fix your game. Just use me. Everybody disrespects the core sample. It's such an amazing tool. Regardless, we are looking at game number 3 between YerAnd and PBHead. See who's going to take it, as we had a couple of, honestly, very uneven games. So clearly, it's really anybody's in game number 3.
Yeah, it's just going to be which player makes the least amount of mistakes in this next game, if this previous 2 games have been any indication.
Yeah, that's very true. We have seen some pretty serious errors being abused by the opponents so hard this game. PB not recognizing the value of the core samples there, not making the transitions to the wind turbines once he was nuked. Only just started that as the game was finishing. Just a bit of an error in tile management, as well as taking resources that were just so far away from his base, causing him some problems for sure. And meanwhile, in game number 1, YerAnd just got power surged out of expensive buildings.
Taking a look at the production and sales right now, PBHead purchased from debt $96,000 worth of food. Never went into food, and that allowed YerAnd to make a nice $212,000 off of food, all profit.
Yep, that will cause you a problem for sure. Also worth noting that YerAnd was twice as aggressive in the black market as PB was. Even one of PB, like both of them throwing a network virus at each other. I do find it hilarious that the biggest moneymaker for PB was the biggest money sink for YerAnd, and the biggest moneymaker for YerAnd was the biggest money sink for PB. But hey, it's a fun little game of Offworld Trading Company, I suppose. Lots of power surges, nukes, and mutinies from YerAnd. Meanwhile, PB only getting out the mutinies. Clearly a pretty big gulf between these players this game.
Yeah, if you make 100K more off of your biggest income out of the resource that powers it, the food, water, you don't really care.
Yeah.
Versus PBHead on the other hand only made what, $14,000, $24,000 more, $14,000 more than on water than food. That's not going to win you anything.
Yeah, I honestly think that a lot of what this game comes back to, though, was that $32,000 auction that PB picked up right at the start of the game, because that created a situation where, despite the fact that these players actually sold very similar amounts of power, bought pretty similar amounts of power, PB a little less sold and a little more bought, but YerAnd was the one who was actually making money. Meanwhile, PB never got out of debt the whole game, so all of that cash that YerAnd had was just debt being paid off for PB, and that really seemed like a big part of what let him accelerate ahead this game, and I think that's really important to note for how this one ended up playing out.
Even if PBHead didn't have that additional debt from the auction, he still would have had all that food debt.
He did have all that food debt as well, that is true. Although it shouldn't have been that bad at the point where power was there, it definitely would have been relevant. But that auction for sure, $32K for a claim, that is a lot to pay.